One of the biggest threats in the last few years that has been talked about a lot has been artificial intelligence. Is this going to be a real problem for the future, or is it just overplayed? Stay tuned to find out. The word artificial intelligence has become a word that's very synonymous with the future and the unknown, if you will. And I think in large part that is true, right? AI is a very new technology and it's improving at a rate that it's never improved at before because of a bunch of different technological advancements that have been happening over the last few years specifically. And there's countless books about AI. I've read Fahrenheit 451. I can't really think of many off the top of my head, but that's the main one, where AI essentially is taking over modern society, and in order to revitalize our roots and stick true to them, we have to kind of go off the grid. Now, I'm gonna definitely talk about this in general, this whole concept of like AI taking our jobs, and it's definitely a scary thought, right? It's definitely a humbling thought as well, because these jobs that a lot of people rely on might be gone sooner than we think. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. So basically, the jobs that we think are under fire are the ones that are like the minimum wage. Fast food joints are already kind of replacing their workers with kiosks in a way. I walked into a random burger joint in Fairlawn, New Jersey just a few weeks ago, and I noticed that there was really only one guy working at the cash register and then like 3 kiosks. So 4 potential jobs were turned into 1 with the help of AI. And this definitely points in the direction that we're going. And it's very, very interesting and scary, as I already said. But as young men on self-improvement, which I'm assuming you guys are, we probably aren't going for any job that will be taken over by AIs, because they're not in the place where they can really do the high-end, high-level jobs. These minimum wage jobs that AI are taking over are probably not the ones that you and I will be dealing with, and that definitely does not mean that it's a problem. But that also brings up an interesting debate about raising minimum wage, because if workers have to pay even more for manpower, they'll be even more inclined to kind of switch to AI. And I think that the raise in minimum wage is something that a lot of people don't really understand, because there'll just end up being less jobs for everyone, which is already kind of a problem. But I think the even bigger problem than the minimum wage gap that we see in the country is the fact that most people do not want to work. Now, if no one wants to work and there's an influx of jobs on the market right now, it's very unlikely that the employers will rely on these low-level workers anymore if they won't even work. And this was a big thing with the pandemic, right? A lot of people were shown the luxury of having the government pay their bills, even though it's literally just a tax rebate given back to them in the form of a check. But the fact that the government was supposedly paying their bills and they didn't have to go out and work was a very comforting experience for a lot of people. And now everyone's kind of relying on that. And that's a really bad sign for the direction that we're going. I definitely don't want to sound like a negative person or a pessimist here, but that is not a good sign at all. Because if people don't even know how to do the base level jobs, and our economy is going that route, then robots will simply take over. But again, I think the concept of AI is very, very new. so we can't really know at the current moment what they will actually do. I feel like I've been all over the place, but basically I've said all this to preface the main point of the video, which is that the things that we want to do to help the world and to make an impact are not the things that AI will take over. I think that's the ultimate takeaway here. Things like doing YouTube, making content, being some sort of teacher, being a musician, or any of these things. Anything that requires soul will not be taken over by AI, because the main difference between humans and robots are that humans have creativity. Robots are very good at doing these individualized tasks, like taking orders for a hamburger joint, right? A robot can do that better than a human ever could. And even doing things like calculus, AIs are going to be better at that because they're not using any brain power. It's just hardwired into their system. But in terms of the creative side of humanity, that's where I think that our renaissance will come from. And that's where I think we're safe. I do anticipate a huge change in the next few years in some sort of economical occurrence. The reason why I'm saying that is not only because of artificial intelligence, but also because of the growing inflation rate that hasn't really been accounted for, and nothing has really been done about it. Mostly because there's very little to do about it. But I don't think that there's ever been a better time to harbor our skills, and we literally have no other choice, because these skills are what will keep us safe in the event of a depression. No matter what the economic state of the world is, cooking a good meal will not be out of style, right? People need food and stuff like this in general. Playing music, creating content, all these different things that humanity has strived on for all of mankind's existence will continue to go forward, while the jobs and the more industrialized area of the world will become run by AI. I think that is ultimately what will happen. There will be a split off between the haves and the have-nots. In this case, those being the ones who have skills that are marketable. And you can already argue that marketable skills sets are already way above like the average job, and they definitely net you more opportunities in your life, and that is definitely true. I mean, it's only going to become more and more true the further we dive in. So the message of the video is simple. Don't be scared of artificial intelligence, even though there is a high chance of them taking away some of the easiest income streams that people can get. It doesn't really matter, because you didn't want to be a low-level worker anyway, and you were already working on building your skills, so you will be safe ultimately at the end of the day. And use this as one of your reasons to keep going through whatever skill or whatever hardship you're pushing through. Just know that once everything is set in stone and you have these skills, you will be more marketable than the next guy, and that will do you well, because that's how you achieve financial success and wealth, is by marketability. So with that being said, that's pretty much it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.